Kathy Griffith.
Here.
Terry Kavner.
Here.
David Roberts.
Here.
Mark Ham.
Here.
Glenn Lewis.
Here. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 2 is the consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting held November 5th, 2012. Item B is approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2012-2013 in the amount of $3,048,564.98.
Make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other comments to the minutes or changes to note? Everybody get their claims questions answered? We have a motion and a second. Would you call?
Yes. Jason Blair.
Yes.
Kathy Griffith.
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes.
David Roberts.
Yes.
Mark Ham.
Yes.
Robert Kraus.
Abstain.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes. Item carries. Item number 3 is consider approval of employment agreements with Chris Cochran of Bank of Oklahoma, BOSC Incorporated as financial advisor for the final phase of the general obligation bonds authorized at November 4, 2008 election, and Terry L. Hawkins of Phillips Murrah PC as bond counsel concerning general obligations bond as authorized at the November 6, 2012 election.
Mayor, you all certainly know Terry, been our bond counsel for many years. This will be a contract with him for the upcoming bond issues that'll be held with regard to the parks related bonds over the next several years. But you're all aware, I think, of our situation with Paul Smith, our current financial advisor, being unable to work with us now due to some situations that he has going on. I've introduced all of you, but Robert, I'm sorry, just because Robert, you got here late a little bit, but Chris Cochran was recommended to us by Paul, and we've met with Chris several times and feel very good about using them, although this particular authorization is just for the last of the street bonds that will be issuing in early 2013, January, around in there for the last project on the street bonds. We're assuming if that'll all go fine, if that all goes well as we expect it to, then there'll be another agreement at a later date with them for the bonds to be issued in the next few years as far as the parks projects are concerned.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, would you call for the vote?
Kathy Griffith.
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes.
David Roberts.
Yes.
Mark Ham.
Yes.
Robert Kraus.
Yes.
Jason Blair.
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item number 4 is consider adoption of resolution number 75012 pertaining to the general obligation bonds of 2013 approved by a majority of qualified voters at an election held on November 4, 2008, fixing the amount of bonds to mature each year, fixing the time and place of bonds that are to be sold, and authorizing the clerk to give notice of said sale as required by law.
Chris is going to come up and give you all the particulars of this resolution.
Good evening, Mayor Lewis, members of the City Council. It's great to be with you here tonight. This is a real quick item, but before I get into it, I want to just say one thing real quickly. First of all, I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Chris Cochran. I've met most of you. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I've been in the Oklahoma public finance business for 23 years. I've had the opportunity to work with a number of great clients, most notably in this community. I've been the financial advisor to the school district for the entirety of my career. So it's an honor to have the opportunity to work with you. My partner is Chris Gander. Chris has been in the business for about 12 years, represents cities like Edmond, Shawnee, Oklahoma City Schools. So together, we're going to work on the City of Moore account, and I can assure you we will do everything we can to get the city the lowest interest rates possible on this debt. With that, the resolution, as you all will remember, in November of 2008, the citizens of this community authorized you as a city council to issue a total of $18 million worth of bonds to fund various road projects. The original plan was to issue those bonds over a multi-year period. And the reason for that is just to keep taxes at a manageable level throughout the period. So you issued $7.4 million in January of 2009. Then you came back in June of 2010 and did $6,925,000. So you're now at a position where you have $3,675,000 worth of authorized bonds that you haven't issued yet. The resolution that you have in your packet will begin the issuance process for those last remaining bonds. So resolution, most of you have seen these resolutions before. It's very simple. It really does one important thing, and this is on page 2, section 1. It sets the date, time, and place for when you as a council will receive bids for these bonds, and then further when you will award those bonds. So right now in the resolution that hopefully you have in front of you, we are suggesting December 17th, 2012. That's the date of your regular meeting. We would accept bids on your behalf until 2 o'clock as your financial advisor. We would then come to your regular meeting that night in this facility, present the bids to you, and ask you to award the bonds to the lowest and best bid. That's really all this resolution does. I do want to take another 15 seconds just to give you an update on the bond market. It's literally, interest rates have literally never been this low. I was telling the city manager before the meeting, if we were selling this bond today, I would expect our interest rate to be below 1.5%, which will be the lowest that this city has ever had on a borrowing. So, of course, when that happens, I'm going to take all the credit, but actually have very little to do with it. But anyway, that's an update on the market. I'll be happy to answer any questions, as will Terry Hawkins, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Make a motion to approve?
all right, thank you. Thank you, Board. We have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
yes,
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. Item number 5 is discuss and consider authorizing staff to proceed with a partial advance funding of the dedicated parks quarter-cent sales tax. And I asked that these be put on, and I had talked to a couple of you, and I talked to the city manager about this. What we had talked about is we passed these, or the sales tax, and it actually doesn't start collecting for at least 7 months. And I thought since we had this Hurricane Sandy up in the Northeast, it would be good for us to be able to purchase materials to go ahead and get started on these things by borrowing the money from a local bank, paying the 1-2% interest on it, and avoid some of the higher costs later. So, any thoughts on it?
I think, we've done similar type transactions before, and I think it's a good idea because it allows us to move it,
A little faster pace. And the city never moves at a fast pace.
What we've talked about internally with this is the sales tax will generate roughly $2 million a year, or close to that. So we talked just to get things jump-started, perhaps going in and doing a short-term borrowing, 2, 3, 4-year term of about $2 million, essentially to borrow the first year's remittances from sales tax to be able to jumpstart us on some of those projects like restrooms and walking trails and some of those sort of things that people will see and will make a difference, but weren't necessarily
and begin using
scheduled
next
for a
summer.
little while. And I asked Chris to talk about this just briefly with you with regard to how this will affect us in terms of our issuance schedule and all that, because it's quite likely that this issuance will need to be taxable as opposed to non-taxable, and Chris can give you a little bit of an idea of how that will affect it.
Yeah, my thought was that we go ahead and, if we went ahead and did it and the interest rate was 2%, we'd more than save that on the cost of materials due to the fact that they're gonna have to rebuild most of New Jersey and New York, so. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think my thoughts were, it would need to be taxable because to get the lowest rates possible on our general obligation bonds, both the parks and the roads, we need to be able to issue less than $10 million worth of tax exempt bonds during a calendar year. So my recommendation would be to issue exactly $10 million of general obligation bonds, $3,675,000 from the '08 authorization and the remainder from the 2012 authorization. And then because interest rates are so low, you're really not penalized at all by doing a short-term taxable advance funding. We expect, I think this may have been said, but just talking around the room, you know, I would expect a 3 or 4, maybe even a 5-year borrowing on a taxable basis to be less than 2%.
So there's not a better way of doing this, in your opinion?
No, I think this is definitely what I would recommend.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea, just the fact, you know, the citizens gave us the okay, and for it to take months for us to actually do something.
Well, the mayor's absolutely correct, and that is we would not begin to collect any of these sales tax until May, probably actually June at the earliest next year. And then once we start collecting money and then get ramped up to start spending it, we were realistically talking almost a year from now.
I think citizens would love it.
So it will help speed up the process, you're saying too, then, right?
Absolutely. We think we can probably do this and have the funding available, the money in the bank, I would assume, January, February timeframe. And start, and we've already started talking internally. Todd, you might just mention some of the projects that we've already started talking about if we do this, the projects we can accelerate and where we might spend that money.
Thank you, Steve. Basically, Parmalee Park, we think that we could do in fairly short notice with this money. That's about $1 million right there. Improvements at Little River Park in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, and then walking trails at Kiwanis is $50,000, and you know, here or there, restrooms and those kinds of things. The money adds up pretty quickly. So we think that we can make real good use of this $2 million, and we've already started work. You know, as an example, specifications for our restrooms, we're working on that. And then talking about sequencing these projects as far as construction. So we hit the ground running on November the 7th, and so really it boils down to the money. We think if we get this, we can start real quick.
I think that by doing so, and by some of these things showing up early, you know, next spring and next summer, it just increases our credibility on as far as what we said we would do.
Get it done.
I agree.
Make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this item? If not, let's call for the vote, please.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes. Item carries. This is kind of where we act like business people and do it like a business, huh? I like that. Item number 6 is discuss and consider the purchase of a Smithco spray vehicle for parks, cemetery, and public works in the amount of $42,496.87 off the state contract.
Mayor and council, this vehicle's a dedicated spray rig, and we'll be using it in the parks and cemeteries, various city properties, and improved right-of-ways, and also some drainage channels.
This is for weeds, right?
Yes.
Not for mosquitoes.
Right, it's for weeds, yes.
All right, thank you.
Is this to replace another vehicle, or is it just
No,
something?
we have one already that we've had for several years. So we have, during the last few months, we have had some employees go get their licenses to spray, and we'd really like to have a little more advanced spray program starting. We have some new fields, and with our development in the city, we'd like to kind of stay up with that.
You're about to have a whole lot more fields.
Yeah.
Right, make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Any other discussion on this item? If not, would you call for the vote, please?
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll recess the city council meeting and convene the Moore Public Works Authority meeting. Item number 7 is the consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Public Works Authority meeting held November 5th, 2012. Item B is approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2012-2013 in the amount of $663,078.17.
Move to approve?
All right, thank you. Everybody get their claims questions answered? Any notes or changes to the minutes? If not, let's call for the vote.
Was there a second?
Second it.
Yeah.
Okay. Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, item carries. At this time, we'll recess the Moore Public Works Authority meeting and convene the Moore Risk Management meeting. Item number 8 is the consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Risk Management meeting held November 5th, 2012. Item B is approve payment of a court order of workers' compensation settlement in the amount of $19,097.25 to Nathaniel Edwards for claim number WC 2012-00022-K and authorize the placement on the property tax roll, and supplement the budget accordingly. Item C is approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2012-2013 in the amount of $143,220.84.
And B, it's a court order, so that's what we have to pay.
Yeah, if there's a WC or there's anytime we ever go to workers' comp court with one of these, then those will be court-ordered settlements. We have other settlements that we recommend where the court's not involved, but there won't be a case number assigned to them and that sort of thing. But this particular one, we contested it. In fact, we contested it twice, appealed it through the process that's established in workers' comp court, and both times were unsuccessful with that. So,
Are there any resources that we could help you guys with to make these successful?
as far as this particular one, or just in the
Just
future?
workers' comp in general?
No, I mean, we could have a month-long session on workers'
Yeah.
comp
Yeah.
and what needs to happen in terms of,
Just further testimony that the workers' comp system needs
It-
major revision.
it needs some major revisions, and that's obviously state. And there's always talk in the legislature about workers' comp
Yeah.
reform and all of that, and from a business perspective, I think virtually all businesses want to see that, and in that regard, we're in that boat as well.
Is it usually the same judge that votes no on these things?
No, you just random judges that we get for the hearing.
Okay.
The second hearing or the appeals hearing is not the same judge, but it's 3 of his or her cohorts that work at the workers' comp court. So we've not had a successful appeal of one yet, ever.
Think anybody has?
I don't, I'd like to talk to them if they have, but that I don't know.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion on those items? Would you call for the vote, please?
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus,
No.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes. Item carries. At this time, we'll recess the Moore Risk Management meeting and convene the Moore Economic Development Authority meeting. Item number 9 is roll call. Oh, wait. It's
Terry.
not mine. That's Terry's. Sorry.
Item 9 is roll call. Just call the roll, please.
Robert Kraus,
Present.
Jason Blair,
Here.
Kathy Griffith,
Here.
Glenn Lewis,
Here.
David Roberts,
Here.
Mark Ham,
Here.
Terry Kavner.
Here. Item 10 is the consent docket. Item A, receive and approve the minutes of the regular Moore Economic Development Authority meeting held October 15th, 2012.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Would you call the roll, please?
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Terry Kavner.
Yes, item passes. This time we'll recess the Moore Economic Development Authority meeting and reconvene the city council meeting.
All right, thank you. Item 9 is roll call. All members that were present before are still present. Item 10 is consent docket. Wait, I'm reading yours, never mind. At this time, item number 11 is new business, citizens forum for items not on the agenda. There's no one signed up. Would anyone like to speak? Okay, item B is items from the city council or city trustees.
I read on the, just on a positive note, on the city's Facebook page, citizen had a positive contact with one of our police officers, and the citizen went on there and said some good things about the police officer. I believe it was Mark Snavely. And we're always quick to point out the bad things, but that was a good thing, and just wanted to say that.
Good. Glad you did.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? Any items from the city manager or trust manager?
Yes, sir, just a couple things. First off, the election results, election came and went. I just wanted to publicly say to our citizens and our voters that we are very appreciative of your votes and your confidence in the city. We're very, very excited about the future of the projects that are involved with this, and I pledge to you that we're going to do the very best job we can to make our citizens so proud of these projects that they're going to be, the ones that voted no wish they would have voted yes. So you've got the monthly financial statement for October in front of you there. It's got some interesting numbers on it there. I asked Jim to just to give you a little bit of an understanding of the MPWA fund as it sits right now.
Mayor and council, the report that you receive each month is on a cash basis. We try to show exactly where we are with our available funds. For the month of October, the MPWA does show a deficit position. We do back out the encumbrances and the reserve funds, but the MPWA is not looking real good right now. There's a couple of reasons for it. Number one, it's due to some very high water bills from the city of Oklahoma City. The summer was very hot, and we purchased significant amount of premium water. Our contract has two parts to it. It has a base amount we purchase every month, and then there's above that, the rates are much higher. It's premium water. So we're looking at altering that contract. By having a higher base amount each month, we can have savings by the purchase of the water we make. The second major item in MPWA is we have significant debt service that's at the front or the beginning of the fiscal year. It will ease off later on in the fiscal year, but at this point, it looks like we have paid significant debt service. And then finally, we have either expended or encumbered significant amounts for capital in MPWA. Our revenues are on target. They're actually slightly above our projections, so we're good there. But the expenditures at this point are about 20% above our projections due to the items that I've mentioned. We have discussed the contract with the City of Oklahoma City, and I believe that we will move forward with that, and that will help us ease off on some of these expenditures. And then finally, I need to mention that it is almost time that we seriously consider a rate increase. It won't be long before we have the permanent debt service for the wastewater treatment plant, as that's finished, and we have our final borrowing from there. We will begin the debt service payments on there. All we paid so far is interest, and we will start on the full loan, the principal and interest. So before long, we're going to have to consider a rate increase, especially on the sewer side of the utilities. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Nobody wants to pay the sewer till they get it fixed. It stinks so bad down there.
Yeah.
It has been bad the last few days. Are we close? How close are we to getting that done?
We have that on the list of things to discuss, but,
November 12th. That was the drop dead deadline he set.
we are not gonna be finished
Mr.
by
Satish.
November 12th.
Yeah, I think we missed it.
The contractors are now indicating to us that it's probably going to be before it's operational, March, April timeframe. There's been a variety of reasons out there that the project has been delayed, just various things. Through Satish, our engineer, that they're on top of all those things and working with them as far as the contract with DEQ on the consent order and all of those things. But the bottom line is it's going to take a little longer than what was anticipated to start. As far as the problems of late being worse, Robert tells me the main reason for that is that with the project getting closer to completion, there's a lot of tie-ins of either lines or various things out there where they've had to shut down the treatment plant completely, turn the electricity off to it and completely shut it off, which turns off the existing odor control that's there, forces the sewage into the overflow ponds without the aeration and all of that. So there's numbers of reasons for it. And the citizens have noticed. I've got several emails and complaints, and understandably so. And all I can ask is that folks just bear with us. It's going to be a little bit longer, but it is going to be a whole lot better when it's finished.
This is kind of an example of why I've mentioned this before, but projects, big projects, it'd be nice if we could do like some of the projects I think probably doing some of the interstates where if companies go over, they get fined.
We do
go
have
under.
that is in this contract.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
It is
Okay.
in this contract, and
Will that be
there's a
effective
certain amount per day that they go over, and those numbers will be calculated at the end of the project, how many ever days they're over. There's some days that we're gonna owe them in terms of some unexpected things that came up out there during construction where we'll probably owe them a little time, and then they're gonna owe us time, and therefore fines. So it's there, and they're aware of it, everybody's aware of it, but we're where we're at today.
And haven't we discussed before, aren't there some lagoons that are down there that are not within our city limits that contribute to some of the odors?
Mobile home park there has some that may contribute to part of it, but I'm certain what people have been smelling of late, and with the mayor's concerns and the calls that he's gotten is from our plant.
Yeah. 56,000 people on, so it's us.
Well, we've had a few more people on the system than we've had in the past, certainly, yes.
Okay. Anything else?
A little bit of an update on the 12th Street bond project over here. The latest that Stan understands from our utility that's out there, AT&T, is that they will have their crews on site a week from today, Monday, a week from today, and will be out of the way by the end of the year. So that's the schedule that we're hopeful now that will be the final word from them. I also talked to Jan Moran about this today. Jan is sort of their, I'm not sure what she is, public relations type for AT&T. Government relations. She's aware of our concern about this. She and one of their engineers for the company will be at the council meeting 2 weeks from tonight. We will have also on the agenda the agreement that will be with them for them to provide their UVerse service in the community. That we already have an agreement with them. It's just time for the renewal, but it'll be an opportunity if you should so desire to ask them any questions. You can. They're aware that we're concerned about this and have been concerned about it for some time. So that's the status of that. Back to the treatment plant just briefly, the accident that happened down there last week or week before, whenever that was, Robert got indication today that the contractor, we believe at least, we've been told anyway, the contractor has been cleared of any negligence, that it was clearly a construction accident or an accident that occurred down there. The the gentleman's okay, and they don't know that they don't think now that he's gonna lose his legs, what you reported to me earlier, but, is okay, I guess as okay as you can be. Just also wanted to mention Saturday, thanks to Elizabeth and her crew, we had America Recycles Day out at the Recycle Center, and I think we had traffic jams and full trucks and all kinds of people out there doing that. So that's a great thing, a great service that we're providing, and Elizabeth and many of her staff folks were out there on Saturday, so I appreciate that. One final thing, the Oklahoma Recreation and Park Society that Todd's a part of went to the conference last week, and our comp plan, or Path 2022 Parks Master Plan received an award from Corps for outstanding contributions to the recreation and park movement. So we were happy about that and happy for our Parks Department on that. So that's all I have.
Good job. All right. Next item, item 12 is adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
All right, thank you. Thank you both. Would you call for the vote, please?
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Kathy Griffith,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, we're adjourned. Thank you for coming. Thank you for having us. You're welcome. Randy, how are you?